Autumn 1943, I was 4.5 and my brother was 3. We'd moved out of Bradford 2 years earlier to escape the bombing. We lived in the country cottage without gas light and no running water. There were just the two of us and Mum. Dad was away fighting the Germans. I couldn't remember the time when he wasn't, so I thought that was what dads did, fight the Germans. I'd no idea who Germans were. I'd got the word German and the word germ mixed up in my mind. There was a disinfectant advertisement in the papers which showed germs as little black bugs with lots of legs. There was another advertisement about not wasting food. It had a creature called the squander bug in it. The squander bug had big, sharp teeth and a fat, hairy body with swastikas all over it. I thought Germans were something like that. On Thursdays, my mum had to take my brother to the clinic in the nearest town. It was 2 miles. There were no buses. I walked and Mum pushed Donald in his pushchair. On Thursday morning, we set off as usual. It had been a windy night, and fallen leaves lay in drifts along the lane. It was my first all-walking autumn, and I started kicking showers of leaves in the air as we went along. Mum was a fast walker, and I kept running to catch up. We rounded a bend. The fallen leaves thinned and ceased. The trees which overhung this stretch were dark pines. They tossed in the gusty wind. As we walked under them, I saw strange objects scattered on the wet tarmac. I stopped, squatting to examine one. Mum strode on. I touched the thing with my mitten. It rolled. I picked it up, knowing I shouldn't. There was a rumor that the Germans were dropping small, brightly colored bombs for children to find, and I wasn't supposed to pick things up. Nothing dreadful happened, so I straightened up and ran after Mum with the thing in my hand. "What's this, Mummy?" I said, opening my mitten.
"That's a pine cone,"
she told me. She pointed to the trees.
"Those are pine trees. Pine cones grow on them. They have seeds inside to make new pine trees."
"Can I keep it?" I asked. She laughed.
"Yes. Gather some more and we'll take them home. They make a lovely blaze when you put them on the fire."
I thought they were far too nice to put on the fire, but I scampered about picking up cones till my pockets bulged and Mum was way out in front. Presently, there was a noise like a motorbike coming down the lane, and I did as I had been taught, trotting to the verge and standing still. Mum turned the pushchair and began running back towards me. I'd never seen Mum run before. She looked frightened, and that scared me. She grabbed me, dumped me on top of Donald and crouched over us as the engine noise grew to a roar you could feel through the soles of your feet. After a moment, the noise receded and she stood up, lifting me off the pushchair. "What was it?" I asked.
"A German aeroplane,"
said Mum. I had to hold on to the pushchair the rest of the way. We passed some good pine cones, but we didn't stop. The next day, rolling pine cones about on the stone floor of our big kitchen, I listened as Mum and Mrs. Applegate from next door talked about the aeroplane. It had come down somewhere nearby, and the 4 Germans inside had been given tea at a farmhouse before the police came to take them away. As I listened, it dawned on me that Germans were just people. This filled me first with amazement, then with disappointment. No fangs, then. No black hair or extra legs. Just people who sat in kitchens, like Mum and Mrs. Applegate, drinking tea. Pine cones were far more interesting.